Jon Taffer and Paramount Network are at it again with a new rescue spinoff. Of course, you already know the acclaimed show Bar Rescue, which has been running for almost a decade now, but they're trying their hand at something new as Jon Taffer enters the couples space with his new show Marriage Rescue. We've got plenty of thoughts here on TV Pilot Reviews coming up right after this.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Ladies and gentlemen, husbands and wives, welcome to TV Pilot Reviews here on AfterBuzz TV, where we give you our hottest takes on all of Hollywood's brand new pilots. And today, as I mentioned, we are reviewing a new series on Paramount Network called Marriage Rescue. It is very obviously globbing onto the Bar Rescue brand, which is a hugely important sort of backbone TV show for Paramount Network. I must be candid and admit that I do cover the Bar Rescue after show here on AfterBuzz TV, and that my name is Jeff Graham, and I'm very excited to be here today. Normally, I'm joined by at least a couple other very, very sharp critics, including Linda Antwi and Mina Wahab and Tara Erickson, but a lot of stuff going on. It's just kind of me here in studio talking about it. But I just watched the pilot, and I have plenty of thoughts for you that I'll be getting into right after this. There will be two sections to the show. There will be a non-spoiler section where I give you my overall thoughts on the show, and a spoiler section where I get into some of the specifics about this episode. So if you want to hear my take without any spoilers, you can tune in after I get to that part. I'm going to give you my overall thoughts on Marriage Rescue right now. So there was a lot of things I thought were really working for this show. First of all, I must say that having Jon Taffer back is always great. It's very interesting. He takes a bit of a different tone than I'm used to with Jon Taffer. On a show like Bar Rescue, he comes in swinging. He's very aggressive. We usually see him soften as the episode goes through during the heart-to-heart, but in this episode, he didn't take quite as aggressive as a tone, even when the couples were bickering. I found him to be a little more sensitive, a little more open-minded and listening when couples were fighting. So I guess that was one twist that I didn't necessarily expect from the show. Also, on a format note, I was surprised to see that each of these episodes will in fact be following two couples. So I think when I first initially heard that this was a Marriage Rescue show, I kind of expected it would be borrowing from a lot of the components of Bar Rescue, like featuring only one bar. But instead, in this rendition of the show, we actually have two couples, which I thought was an interesting twist and worked pretty well. From a producerial standpoint, they were smart to tie the couples together by theme. So in this episode, both couples featured a cheater, and Jon had to work through what it looks like to cheat. So from those perspectives, I really liked what I was seeing. I must say also the show was really beautifully photographed. I thought the cinematography was really nice. They were using longer lenses than I'm used to seeing on reality TV, so we had a really sharp foreground with a bit of a soft background, which I thought made for an interesting kind of cinematic approach to reality that I'm not used to seeing. It looked like they were maybe using long lenses on even handhelds. So it almost had a really kind of serene, easily shaky quality to the camera that I thought worked in a kind of surprising way, especially because at least this episode of the show was set in Puerto Rico. So that kind of added to the serenity of what was trying to happen during the episode. There's a couple things I might like to see adjustments with. For one, the show is very vehemently anti-therapy. Jon Taffer mentions over and over again that not only is he a therapist, but that the show seemed to imply that marriage therapy isn't necessarily a viable option for couples, which respectfully I must disagree with. I think everyone needs to find their own way to work through marital troubles. For some people, it might be jumping out of a plane with Jon Taffer. For some people, it might be attending therapy. And I think this show took a pretty hard stance that therapy isn't a viable option, which maybe because of personal reasons I have to disagree with. So that was one issue I had, and I think one other suggestion I have is I'd like to see more of Jon. I kind of got the impression maybe this was something that Jon Taffer only had so much availability, and I wouldn't be surprised to learn that all of the couples were assembled at once as he was working through them, because a lot of the episode relied on ADR, which is when dialogue is added in after the fact and after episodes are cut together. It was very clear Jon often wasn't with the couples, but was providing a lot of ADR to add context and story to the narrative that this episode was trying to tell, and I found it to be a bit distracting, and like the show could have used a bit more of Taffer in the episode. But that speaks to the quality and the charisma of Taffer as a host. Jon Taffer has always been someone who, no matter how you feel about him, really knows how to produce an effective reality TV scene, and the scenes that he was there for really worked well. I liked that they had diversity in this episode. We had one white couple and one African-American couple with sort of different issues, but still tied together by the themes of a marriage in crisis because of infidelity. So I thought that worked well. And those are most of my overall thoughts on the episode. And I'm going to get into my spoiler section in just a minute. I can see my producer is about to drop that drop. But instead... Oh, I'm not doing a very good job being producible talent right now. Save that click, Ryan. Don't get too trigger happy.
Copy that.
Because I've got something to tell you guys, and that is about our network. Guys, AfterBuzz TV is the ESPN of TV talk. If you haven't checked out our content before, if this is your first time tuning in, even I'm astounded by the amount of television shows that we cover here at the network. We cover dramas, reality TV, sci-fi. I cover everything from The Bachelor to Claws, which are two completely different shows. I covered a Netflix show called Lady Dynamite starring Maria Bamford. And of course, I covered Bar Rescue. That just shows how eclectic our TV oeuvre is here at the network. So what we ask is you guys check out some of our other content, check out some of our other after shows. And you can do that by subscribing to multiple of our channels. So you're on our featured channel right now. Here we'll sort of preview a lot of what we're doing. We'll give you clips, we'll give you some original shows. But for full after shows, we really encourage you guys to subscribe to some of our other channels. For this one, hop on that reality channel and subscribe. I think we're covering a lot of reality shows on that channel, and it might be valuable for you. Even more, we ask that you guys would hop on iTunes and give us that 5-star review we so desperately want to hear. Your 5 stars mean a lot, and it really helps us, guys, because what that does is bump up our podcast in the search algorithms, and it allows you to share your obsession with other TV fanatics and open the conversation and, you know, really be seen in this safe space of TV lovers. If you're like me, your parents don't understand how you can spend your whole life obsessing over television, and I tell them, you just don't get it. It's what I do. And you know what? You love to read. I love to watch TV. And you know what? That's valid. So give us those 5 stars. It would really mean a lot. And if you do review our podcast and I see it on iTunes, I will read your review on air. So, Ryan, the moment we've been waiting for.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
I also, one thing we do on the podcast that I didn't mention is we go for a different color during this segment of the show. So, Ryan, feel free to, ooh, I like the green. Ooh, I like the pink even more. For those of you guys listening on the podcast, check out our YouTube. The studio is now a kind of nice, deep mauve. I would highly recommend you check it out. Nice choice, Ryan. Okay, so this episode was interesting because it featured 2 couples, both having cheaters. And the thing I was most astounded by was just how these couples spoke to each other. I got married about 8 months ago, and me and my wife, you know, we kind of talk like a homegrown, passive-aggressive Midwestern couple. So rather than fighting like they did in this episode, you get a lot of the, honey, I think I'd prefer if maybe when you handle something, it's more this way than this way, but I also understand, you know, respect is important. Whereas these guys would say things like, quit being such a bitch, you asshole, but saying the actual words and not spelling them like I just did. I found it to be shocking to hear these couples speak that way. So on that hand, it was just kind of interesting to see different relationship dynamics. I thought John did a nice job of leaning into those dynamics and seeing what they were. And I thought the activities were interesting as a way to bring the couples together. Particularly, I was entertained by the parasailing because it was, hopefully I don't sound immature saying this, a bit funny to watch. I have her name right here. To watch Kelly freak out. I sort of enjoyed that. I think that was a exciting part of the episode. And the vows were nice. I thought it was nice to have vows at the end of the episode, and I'd be excited to potentially see this show change up formats. So, you know, on one hand, it's a complicated show because it's dealing with complicated dynamics, but on the other hand, it's kind of a simple show, right? And I feel like for now, I've kind of given you guys my full thoughts. But what I would like is for you guys to comment down below with your thoughts. Until then, guys, that's all we've got for TV pilot reviews. As I mentioned, we covered Marriage Rescue, Paramount Network's new show that's rolling out with a 6-episode season. You can check that out on Paramount Network at 10 p.m. As of right now, we are not slated to run an after show for Marriage Rescue, but if people are particularly excited about this show, we would love for them to comment down below. You know what happened? We weren't running an after show for The Society, but then y'all got in the comments when we covered it on TV pilot reviews, and you said, I want to see The Society covered, and guess what we did? We got an after show for The Society. So if you want to see an after show for Marriage Rescue, please comment down below, and we'll let you know where we land on that. Check us out on Twitter, and we'll keep you posted. Speaking of Twitter, if you want to connect with me, you can get at Jeffrey C. Graham on Twitter. I'd be happy to chat with you about all things television because I love it. And I also host the Bachelorette After Show on Mondays on AfterBuzz TV, also produced by Ryan Nilsson in the booth. Love that guy. Love him as a producer. Love him as a dude. It's probably time for me to get out of here because you got it, Ryan. I feel like I'm rambling, so we're going to get out of here, guys. But thank you for tuning in. I will be here next Wednesday at 5 p.m. with more people talking about TV, and we hope you'll tune in then. Until then, thanks, guys. We'll see you then.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.